Screen Slurp.
Hello, and welcome to Screen Slurps, the movie review podcast where we discuss everything that is good, that is bad, and that is savage in the world of cinema. I'm Adam Meisner.
And I'm DJ Gearhart, and I have two things to say off the top. First of all, I'd like to real quick say congratulations to our President-elect Joe Biden and our Vice President-elect Kamala Harris.
Ow!
Hell yeah. And
Hell
number
yeah.
two is listeners, please join us in welcoming this episode's guest, Mr. Matthew Weinstein, the writer and director of the acclaimed short film titled A Misconnection.
Ooh.
Mr. Matt. Matt, would you like Matt or Matthew?
Whichever one works, and I will say up front that I have no relation to Harvey.
No relation.
It's a good way to start.
This is a good Weinstein, everybody. This is a good filmmaker Weinstein, not the bad one. Not the
I can
evil
attest to that
emperor.
too.
So remember, spoilers, if you've seen the Rise of Skywalker, you have Emperor Palpatine, and then you have his granddaughter Palpatine. One was bad, one was good. Even though he's not related. Matt's not related. Matt, how are you? Never mind. You're good. How are you? How the fuck are you?
You managed to insert a Rise of Skywalker reference.
I'm
right
sorry.
At the start.
I know.
Yeah.
It's disrespectful. I hate that movie.
Just when I was trying to forget, I was about to forget that movie
I know.
completely.
It hurts
me
to
back
think
in.
about it. Yeah, I'm sorry. Just watch the
But
Mandalorian.
actually, it's related to our movie that we're reviewing today because when I saw The Rise of Schlock in IMAX, they showed the opening prologue to Tenet in IMAX.
Oh, yeah.
We're
So that
talking
was
about
cool.
that movie?
It hasn't happened yet.
It was backwards.
Whoa, that also relates to what we're gonna talk about.
Yeah. But before we get into that, I kind of want to talk to you a little bit, Matt, about you, about yourself, about your film. So in case you don't know, ladies and gentlemen, Matthew Weinstein is an independent filmmaker here in Chicago, and he's a very good one at that. And I'd like to just first ask you a few questions, Matt. Which is first off, I'd like to say, like, what originally got you into filmmaking? What really piqued your interest and said, like, I need to do this too?
I just think from a young age, I was always loved movies, and I was always fascinated by storytelling, and just always loved that process of. I used to love writing stories, and then gradually I realized I love the process of taking something, from its inception all the way to its completion.
That's very funny you say Inception because that's a movie also related to our director today.
Are we
Our-
just going to
our
be
other
punning all
director.
day?
I think
Well
so.
done,
It's
Adam.
really it's very very fascinating to my mind. Okay, but continue though, Matthew.
Nicely done,
It's
Adam.
it's very nice that you're talking about your interest in directing, and you did make a very awesome film. I gotta say, the one that you made most recently, A Misconnection, and I thought that was very well related to. You gotta have a serious interest in Christopher Nolan's work, and I think I saw that in your style with A Misconnection. But it also kind of reminded me of another director we covered not too long ago, Sofia Coppola, with the way that you were playing with these scenes that you had with relationships. And I want to hear your perception or your take on how you made this movie when you were writing it. What directors or what sort of direction were you going when you were screenwriting this? What were your big inspirations? Was it Christopher Nolan? Was it other directors? What was your inspiration when you were screenwriting this?
Well, I mean, my inspirations, obviously, Christopher Nolan is an inspiration, as well as directors like Martin Scorsese and David Fincher. And as of late, Denis Villeneuve, who directed Blade Runner 2049, before that, Prisoners, Arrival, and Sicario. But I wrote the script for Misconnection as far back as late 2012. And it was just essentially a means to an end. I was looking for something to direct. I hadn't directed since I graduated from NIU back in 2011, and this was a short story that I'd written for a creative writing class. It was a final, and it was something I just came up with, and it was just the story about two people that just happened to meet at a coffee shop, and I took that story and kind of expanded and added some personal things to it, and that was really to kind of give it that conflict, if you will, without it being too super melodramatic, but essentially it was just that means to an end, because when you're starting out in directing, no one's going to give you a script to, direct. And oddly enough, as I was trying to get this movie made, and as far back as late 2012 into 2013, it just didn't happen. And at the end of the day, it's a good thing. It was a blessing in disguise. But in the interim, I got sent this script for a short film called The Gun Equation, which we ended up filming in summer of 2014, and that just kind of took over for the next year, just kind of focusing on that, getting that finished and getting it out there. And yeah, I'd always felt like, we're going to get to a misconnection, and the opportunity presented itself. And thankfully, it took the amount of time and the amount of years it did to get to making that film, because I was able to fine tune the script and really develop it, really hone in on it and make it and really develop things. There were some things that in the original script weren't as well developed as I thought. There were things that the characters had done that were not, it didn't make sense when you really scrutinize, you think about it. I did that at one point the summer before filming. I was like, I went through and did sort of a pass, looking at the script through the perspective of the main protagonist, Jake, who's played by Tyler Pistorius, a wonderful Chicago actor. And I was thinking, I'm like, well, without spoiling it, he wouldn't have done, there was something that was brought up at the front end, and it just kind of, when you brought that up right away, I felt like, well, where's the sense of tension down the road? And it wouldn't make much sense if this character felt sort of embarrassed by this sort of thing to have revealed it just openly like that. So it was a simultaneous aha and oh fuck, because I realized, well, I know now what the problem is, but now I got to figure out how to solve it. And it took a better part of a couple days, and I realized, okay, I need to have some more dialogue. I got to bring this little plot point, this little detail sort of to the background and have some other things to the foreground. But what was great was it developed the character of Jake a little bit more as a writer and gave some more background into what he had been working on, and the character of Lauren, her further admiration, and it just gave him something more to talk about. And also it really helped define that central montage section, which for a while was just kind of a shorthand. They just talk in the script. But, you don't want to, when it comes to directing, with improv, you don't want to just say to actors, just make something up and we'll film it and it'll be great. Yeah. We'll figure it out. So we ultimately I was able to, because of this revelation in the process, I was able to come up with some stuff that, was an experience that they could share and talk about. And it is in a way relevant to the overall story of the movie. So that was a very long way of answering that question of inspiration. I think we covered a lot of it.
No, I enjoyed that. And, I'd like to hear, DJ, your thoughts on the film. But I ask because I think I saw, watching this movie, I was thinking, of course, Matt Weinstein's got to have some sort of like serious inspiration from Christopher Nolan's work. And I could almost see it in the cinematography. I'm thinking, what? I can see the looks of a Christopher Nolan-esque film in this movie. And I really liked that. And I felt this kind of intensity. And even with the music that you were using in this movie, I really liked the music you had in this movie.
Mark Bartels, who's my cousin, he did the music. He also did the sound mix. He also had previously mixed the sound for The Gun Equation.
Nice.
So, cool. But the music he did for Misconnection was just, I think it's absolutely beautiful. And the way that he did the final sound mix was incredible.
I think you just really hit a nail on the head with the dialogue, with that sort of, you just don't know where the relationship's going thing. And I think that's why I brought up Sofia Coppola, because I think that's something I would expect from a movie that she would make. And I was like, wow, I really feel a tie with this movie. You've just got this, sort of relationship scene that's going on. And I'm like, where are they going with this dialogue? And I want to know, and I almost feel I literally, with your title, I feel a missed connection here. I'm like, what's going on? DJ, what's your thoughts on this?
I loved it. One thing,
thank you.
Yes, right at the bat. Yeah, you're welcome. You earned it. And one thing is that it looks beautiful. It looks beautiful, and I loved where you filmed. 'Cause I used to live up there.
Compliments to Tom Kinsel, who was the cinematographer.
Oh yes. He's a master, and it seemed like you two worked well together too.
On set, Tyler and our nickname for Tom on set was Jeff, in reference to Jeff Cronenweth, who had shot The Social Network and Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and Gone Girl for David Fincher.
It did have that feel. It did have
Yeah.
that. I don't want to say David Fincher because he didn't film it, but yeah, you're right. It felt like a girl with the dragon tattoo and The Social Network. And
I would
it really,
say, I would say that if David Fincher had seen this movie, and this applies also to the gun equation, because there's a shot in the gun equation, first shot in the movie. If Michael Mann had seen it, he would sue us because it was so like just right out of heat.
yeah,
And there's a shot in this movie midway through that I'm like, it is The Social Network. That is a shot right out of that opening scene, but it just happened, that was the location and that was the shot. And
Yeah, you didn't steal it. It was
shared.
It's homage.
inspired by
Yeah,
It's a homage.
inspiration. Yeah.
inspiration, and it really fed into what I was feeling as I was watching the film. And I'm kind of like acquaintances with Kimberly. She is a
she's
Second
great.
City performer, and I've been out and about through Second City pre-COVID times, and she's amazing. And yeah, the two main actors had a great chemistry together, and the soundtrack really fed into their dialogue and their performance, and they were so present. And it was just like, I love movies that and TV shows that have just this slice of life, in this moment and how you feel. And when those times happen, it feels like there's nothing else in the world that exists. And that's what I felt when I watched this. And I wanted more, you know what I mean? I wanted this, I don't know, I wanted, and it's not a criticism on the film, but I wanted to see more of these two, I don't know, this would be a good pilot for a series or something like that too. And I wanted, just everything aligned, the stars just aligned, where you shot it in Lincoln Square, and the tone of it, the look of it, the music, the performers, the script, the pace of it was really, really well done. I love that you took your time in this script and also in the post-production. And I love just sitting in it. And Adam, you're totally right. It's kind of like what we talked about when we reviewed On the Rocks. It's this moment in time where you just feel it with the actors and the performers, the characters, whatever. And it's beautiful. And that's what I felt. And I loved it. And yeah, dude, hats off to you. It was, and
Well, thank you.
everybody who has had a part in making this. It was
Well,
great.
thank you.
And it's, if listeners want to check it out, it is available on Amazon Prime, correct?
As well as Amazon Prime, as well as IndieFlix.
Great. All
Nice.
right. Well, hey,
Yeah.
listeners, check out A Misconnection on Amazon Prime and IndieFlix. Cool.
And
All
also,
right.
I would also add, if you decide to check it out, please feel free to leave a rating and a review, because that helps with the algorithm.
Yes, please do that. Give A Misconnection a great review. Please. All right. Well, moving on, we're going to move on to a section of our show in which we talk about a few other things that we've been slurping, our side slurps, what things we've been watching, reading, playing, maybe making, consuming this past week besides watching Tenet. And Mr. Anna Meisner, would you please start?
Oh gosh, I finished watching the TV series Seduced about the Nixium cult. Thank God there's been a resolution to putting them all in jail. Well, most of them. I can't say all of them, but a lot of the top leaders of that Nexium cult in our life. Keith Raniere has been sentenced to 120 years in prison, I think. Thank God that man is out of here. And Allison Mack, I found out from Smallville, was sentenced to 40 years in prison. So I think the last episode, I wasn't sure that she was actually sentenced to jail time. She's got 40 years. So, yeah.
So we can't look forward to a Smallville reunion?
Not with Allison Mack. No. Unfortunately, no Allison Mack. Yeah, she got other Smallville actresses, I think, involved in that. And it's just nuts, man. It is just nuts. The kind of people that get involved in, I think the film director, documentary filmmaker, Mark Vicente, was also a top player in Nexium. He stepped out of it, though, before things got really bad, but it was close. He filmed a lot of the stuff for Nexium, a lot of the interviews with Keith Raniere and things like that when things were starting to build up. and I think him and his wife were both in Nexium, and she escaped and was trying to tell him like, "Hey, Mark, things are bad. This is not good." And he was like, "What are you talking about?" I'm kind of just like role playing here as Mark Vicente in the situation, but that's essentially what was happening. And then finally, he started to see how things were going, and he got out of it before everyone got caught by, police, and all the evidence started flooding in. And yeah, it's not good. It is not good. But thankfully, that is all over with. Everyone's got their jail time right now, I think, and a lot of it is not good. 20 to 40 years for most of the high end people, and Keith Raniere himself has got 120 years for being the sex slave godmaster. Yeah, they were branding people. They were branding people with Keith Raniere's initials. Basically, it was like tattoos, only with a soldering iron. So they were just taking the women and soldering Keith Raniere's initials on them. But he was saying it was like Greek symbol, basically. That's what he was telling them. That's what they were believing. But it was actually just Keith Raniere's initials. So it's just like a KAR. Together to look like an old logo's not the word I'm looking for, but yeah, not good. But
like a fraternity, like fraternity letters. Like
it was
Alpha.
awful. But it's all information that's in the show. Again, the TV series Seduced, which is on Stars. It's 4 episodes. Each episode's about an hour long, and it tells the story from beginning to end of how India Oxenberg was like the main woman who joined and took very long to get out until like the very end. And it was from when she was I think she was like 18 or 19 until she was about 26. She was in Nexium from start to finish, basically from when the cult started until they got caught and ended, basically. But yeah, just finished that series, and I'm glad the whole cult is gone now. But I highly suggest checking out the series because it's just crazy how real that is. And that something like that exists in the United States, or existed, I should say. But I think people still do believe in Nexium. It's just frightening.
I totally believe you, Adam. I totally believe you, and I'm totally with you on how awful that is. I don't know if I want to watch that though, because
I have to be in the right mood to watch that.
Right. Telling real stories is important, but like, man, that sounds like I'm just gonna feel terrible. Yeah. I'm glad they caught the bad guys.
You got to think of it you got to think of it like you're watching Unsolved Mysteries or something. It's like criminals are out there.
I felt terrible when I watched.
Yeah. Criminals are dirty people. They are awful. But particularly this series is like, look at how shitty our world is. Look at how crazy these people are, and they will be this crazy, and then finally they're caught, after 20 That's 30 good. Years or something, and it's like finally it's quote over, and then I don't know, when is it not over? But
well, it sounds like something, if you were to watch that, you would watch it during the day. It's a daytime show to watch. But yeah, it sounds like it's fascinating, but it's a possibility that you watch it and you just feel like, oh my god, that is just way too heavy.
I definitely felt that way watching that show. It's intense. It really is. But yeah, I still suggest it. It's crazy to believe people are like that, and all I can say is please never be a person like that.
Yes. What are the odds that they're going to make that into a fictional movie?
Oh man, I don't know if I don't know how you would. Well, a fictional movie. I guess you could make that into a fictional movie. Anything.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing Tiger King as a movie at some point.
As fiction.
They're gonna have Nicolas Cage as
Tiger King.
Yeah, what was his name? It's been a while since that show came out this year.
I know. I don't even. I didn't watch it. I don't know.
It's okay.
I know what you're talking about though, and I know Nicolas Cage.
Just change the animal and make it into an even more fantasy film. Just like Leopard.
Griffin King.
Yeah, but it's like Griffin King. To me, it'd be fascinating. It'd be interesting at first, the idea of a movie based on it. But it's like, the documentary exists, and I personally, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a bit overrated.
Well, they kind of did that with Edward Norton movie Snowden, off of Citizen 4 or Citizen.
That was Joseph Gordon-Levitt. That was Edward Snowden. Yeah,
but it was based off of the real life documentary.
Yeah, Citizen 4.
Citizen 4, which I loved. Now, granted, that wasn't as much of like, it was about people doing heinous things, but like, sorry, I think what you were talking about, Adam, is way more heinouser than the government stealing our privacy, which is also very heinous, but not as heinous as sex slave trafficking. That's just my opinion. Anyway,
Yeah,
what else have you been
okay.
slurping, Adam?
There's not going to be a test about this, is there?
Yeah,
We're expecting
you
us to
take notes. Adam, what?
yeah.
Did you slurp any happy things?
Yeah, let's get on. Let's get past that. Okay, so I played some video games. I was playing. Thank you, Ric Flair. Thank you. I played some video games. I played. I was playing Hollow Knight. I still haven't beaten that game.
Love
I
that
started a save. I got reasonably far, and then I kind of let it sit there for a while. So I started a brand new game. And I was playing that for a couple hours, and other than Hollow Knight, I can't even tell you what else I've been playing. It's really like I played Hollow Knight. I was just kind of like, let me whip up my Steam software on my computer and see what games have just been sitting there for a while. And other than that, I decided, you know what? I'm going to learn how to use Reaper on my computer because all the other sound designers I talk to on the internet are like, yo, I use Reaper for sound design in my video games. And I'm like, man, I've been using Pro Tools for 10 years on my computer. Why not try and use something else? I use Pro Tools. I use Ableton for music creation a lot of the time, just for dabbling around. So I figure, you know what? I got some free time. Why not just try and use Reaper a little bit? And I gotta say, I definitely vouch for it. It's basically free to start off with. Let me just say that, listeners, Reaper is practically free. So check it out. You can download it on Windows. You can download it on Mac OS. Go to their website. They say it's like a trial period, basically, for 60 days. However, when you download it and you get past the 60 days, they still don't make you buy it. Psst, 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 they still don't make you buy it. You can still keep using it, full software. You should probably buy it. Just be a kind person and pay the $60, or if you're using it commercially, I think it's like $225. But you can technically use it for free. So download the software, and it's just an extended version of basically a combination. If you imagine ever using Ableton and Pro Tools, it's basically like, let's just combine it and make everything super customizable. So if you want Reaper to look a certain way, people online have been making a ton of different themes. So if you're like, I don't like the way that Reaper looks, I want it to look a little more analog-y, like old school audio interfaces or something, like someone's probably designed a theme for that. So I changed the theme of my software to look a certain way that makes it much easier for me to use. You can change the track colors really easily. Lots of customization options. Keyboard hotkeys are really easily customizable. You can make it so if you're really technical and you're like, when I reverse a track, I want the track to turn red. If you're really nerdy like that, you can do that. You can do it really easily. So lots of options. I could get really in depth, but I'm not going to. Lots of options. So I've been trying to learn to use that recently for about the past week, and I've made some really funny stuff. I actually just sound designed a GIF of Bryan Cranston today because I thought it'd be funny, and it kind of was. Put a Snoop Dogg song underneath Bryan Cranston dropping a microphone. So really fun. That's pretty much been my past week.
Nice. That you should have got like $1,000 for that advertisement. That was very well. It was very well sold. You know, you sold it well.
Let me also say, I didn't just sound design that, though. You can also video edit in Reaper. So I sound designed that video, that GIF. I also slowed down the GIF, so I stretched it out, and it ran a little bit slower. And then I also edited it so that it would zoom in on Bryan Cranston's face on the kicks of the Snoop Dogg song. So it would do that do and zoom in onto his face. And so that's also a great thing about it. Reaper may be, quote, audio editing software if you want to think of it, but it's not only audio editing software, it's also video editing software. So a lot of people are arguing right now, like, hey, it's going to kick Adobe Premiere's butt in about a year. That's arguable. They're both good at what they do, but Reaper is, it's on the run right now. It's getting better. It's only continuing to get better.
So use the promo code SLURP, SLURP, to get 20% off of Reaper, ladies and gentlemen.
Just 20% off?
With your firstborn child, yeah.
And your first slurp.
Yes, your first slurp. I wish that was a paid advertisement. So don't try that promo code, ladies and gentlemen. That was a bit, not real. Apologize.
Come visit us in Chicago sometime and see us do improv comedy when you're not catching the pandemic.
We're very good.
If there's any open comedy clubs.
Yes, exactly. Well, Mr. Matt, what are things that you've been side slurping this week besides Tenet?
Well, actually, it's funny. This time last week, I got through the entirety of The Queen's Gambit on Netflix.
Oh, I've been meaning to check that out. That looks awesome.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet. Tell us more, my good sir.
Well, it's that show about the chess prodigy. She's Anna Taylor-Joy. She was in The Witch.
Ooh, I love The
And
Witch.
oh yeah, and she's also going to be in Robert Eggers' new movie, which is pretty exciting. So she's orphaned at a young age, raised in an orphanage until she's adopted, and she manages to learn how to play chess and also get addicted to tranquilizers.
That's an interesting combo.
So it's basically her rise to chess prodigy status. And yeah, I started it last Sunday and watched 2 hours and was pretty hooked, and ended up watching the next 4 hours the next night and watched the final episode last Tuesday. Yeah, I'd say about more than half of the series. It's a limited series. I'm hoping that they don't decide to make a second season, because I feel like it sounds like they've already mined the entire book. It's based on a book that was actually originally, Heath Ledger was originally going to direct it back in the day.
Wow.
But I'd say the first like 6.5 episodes are really good, and the last half of the sixth episode and the entire seventh, I mean, they were fine, but I felt a little underwhelmed in terms of the writing. Like, everything else was really good, but I mean, the production quality, the performances, but I guess I was expecting a little bit more. It was a little disappointing, but still overall, it's definitely worth watching. And it felt less like, I mean, it felt like, an extent, because, each of the episodes there's a couple that run a little over an hour to a little over an hour, but the other ones tend to run like 50 minutes or so, and it felt like just a much longer movie, and it kind of flowed that way. It just zipped along. So it's definitely worth checking out. I felt personally a little disappointed in the quality by the end.
That's fair.
In terms of the writing.
Yeah.
And the story construction. It just kind of, when the sixth episode ended, it was like, oh, I think I kind of have an idea where this is going to go. And it was like, okay, well, I'm still interested, but when it ended, it was like, oh, I was just expecting it was going to really go, like, it was really going to get up there and really hit that peak in the very last episode. And it just it was a bit of a step down. But it's, again, like I said, it's definitely worth checking out.
Cool. What else have you been slurping, sir?
I mean, over the weekend, I rewatched Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, what a crazy ride that movie is.
Such a great fucking movie. All 3 fucking hours of it.
It starts at 11 and it does not let up. It ends at 11.
But it's Martin Scorsese. He knows how to pace it out, and I mean, you just can never go wrong with Martin Scorsese. And for a lot of people that say that he kind of seems to be a one-trick pony in terms of the genre of films, you look at his last decade, his output of movies. I mean, you had Shutter Island released first, and that was a psychological thriller. And
Hugo.
Yeah, Hugo was a 3D family film. Yeah. And then he does Wolf of Wall Street, which is the complete opposite of Hugo.
I mean, it's still a different movie compared to like what he's like, known for, like Goodfellas, all these crime movies. Very different.
It's done in the style of Goodfellas with the voiceover, the breaking of the fourth wall.
True.
And like it's kind of like the white collar version of those criminals. And I feel they probably grew up and they were idolized characters like that, and they decided we could be characters like that too. We just are more legitimate.
Well, even if you want to hate him for his trick, I mean, he does his trick very well. That's what people like him for.
I know, but they want him to do it, and then they don't want him to do it. They say, "Oh, go do this," but no, you're just doing the same thing again. And it's like, why can't he do a movie like Silence, which is also terrific?
Yeah. I remember everybody was like really enjoying that film when I went to see it in the theaters, and everybody was having a great time and like even laughing at all like the crazy shit that he's doing, like, but like it really hit they were like excusing like, oh, it's crazy that he's doing this and that, and he's doing all these drugs, blah blah blah. But it really hit everybody. Like everybody took a when Leo DiCaprio, Jordan Belfort. Yeah, when that character punches Margot Robbie's character, his wife, punches her, it was just like this doom, and everybody's like, oh, everybody like was like, oh, this, I don't like this guy anymore.
Well, I think even but like a little bit before that moment, you feel uncomfortable. I think pretty much after a certain point when the music stops and it's just like it's almost like you're watching that movie. You, the viewer, are almost like Jordan Belfort. You're enjoying, you're having a great time, and then your ass is getting it handed to when he gets caught. And
it's almost kind of like a montage through a lot of it. It like kind of flows like a montage in a way through like like over an hour of it, which is why probably it feels good for a little while.
Well, I mean, the whole idea is to show the allure, the pull, and why people want to do this. And even by the end of the movie, he's still able to entice people into the lifestyle. A lot of people probably take the wrong... Well, they take the wrong message from it, like they do from something like Goodfellas, where they think, oh, he's glamorizing the mob, which he isn't. He's not glamorizing this lifestyle. He's showing, like, this is what pulls people in. They enjoy it. They have a great time, but, these are the consequences. By the end of the movie, you get those consequences. And I felt watching it again recently, over the weekend, it's like I really just... And also, he's an idiot. That guy is a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
He thinks, he thinks so highly of himself and that money can just buy everything. And it's like, there's a limit. There's a limit.
Yep.
No matter... It's McConaughey's character's fault, man. He let him down the dark side.
Bastard.
Well, but he chose to go there. He wanted to make money. That's what happens.
Anakin made his choice, yes.
Well, I mean, but I would say of all the Scorsese films released in the last decade, that was the closest to being like the one that would be like my favorite of his of the decade. But then The Irishman came out.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's close, but I mean, they're all great films. But
I think The Departed is still my favorite.
I was actually rewatching a little bit of that too, and I mean, that's a terrific film, and it's ironic he won the Best Director Oscar for that movie because I mean, how many movies did he get snubbed for over the years because people thought it's too violent, it's too dark, and rough, and The Departed's all of that.
Yeah. So
they're like, well, I'll give you this one. Kind of like when Leo won for his Oscar.
It's a callback.
Yeah. Like we're sorry. You should have gotten this a long time ago.
I know. DiCaprio should have won for Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh yeah, when he won the next year, I was like, for The Revenant, I was like, he should have won the year before.
Well, but The Revenant is, I mean, it's fine, but it's like, is that really
Yeah.
I mean, all he does is he crawls, and there's not really an arc with the character.
He just looks up at his mantle now, and he's like, God damn it.
Well, he probably that's what was signified by the final shot of that movie with him looking right at the camera. That's what someone was joking. It's like he's looking at the camera saying, "Okay, give me my Oscar." Probably not what he meant, but it was like it's easy to come to that conclusion. Give me my Oscar.
Nice. Anything else you've been side slurping?
Also, recently got the Criterion Blu-ray for Parasite.
Ooh, very nice. How was that?
Well, it's great. I still have to check out the bonus features. I know it comes with the black and white edition.
I bet that's awesome.
I'm curious to check out snippets, but I'm sure it's a nice little novelty. I wouldn't consider that to be like a definitive version of that film. I mean, I'm of the mindset nowadays where like the definitive version of the film is what comes out in theaters.
Yeah. I think
and
so
too.
And
it's not like there's a big controversy over it akin to like other movies with director's cuts. It was just, hey, this is just a little cool thing, another way of looking at it. I know they did the black and white versions of Mad Max Fury Road and Logan, but...
Yeah, I watched the Logan one, and I was like, I'm not... I thought I would have enjoyed this more. It's not bad, but I still prefer what I saw originally.
I know, but because that was what came out in theaters, and they went to all the trouble. It's like, it's, again, nice little novelty if you're a fan of the movie, but I would never consider that to be... It wouldn't usurp the original.
Yes.
No pun intended with the name of this podcast.
Unslurp. Cool. All right. Anything else, Matt?
I recently picked up a short little poetry collection from a local writer actress here in Chicago from Amazon.
Oh, nice. Who's the author?
Alyssa Thordarson.
That name's not familiar.
It's called Bare Bones and Letters to Lovers.
Interesting.
Got it off of Amazon Prime, and a lot of really good artwork throughout, and it's original poetry. And hell, and this time it's also really nice to support local artists.
For sure.
So I think it could be found on Amazon. It's available for Kindle, and I think there's some paperback editions available.
Nice. What's the title of it again, so our listeners can find it?
Bare Bones and Letters to Lovers.
Interesting. Excellent. Okay, that sounds good. I might check that out too. Okay, great. Well, some things I've been side slurping this week besides watching Tenet is hey Adam, guess what video game I've been playing?
Is it Hollow Knight?
A little bit actually. What other video game have I been playing?
Mario Party.
No, it's Fire Emblem, dude. You knew what I was gonna say.
That was
I
gonna
say
be my
it every
next
week.
guest. I was gonna be my next.
I do
guest.
have Mario Party. Anyway, yes, I've been playing Fire Emblem Three Houses. I've almost beat the Golden Deer storyline. I'm almost there. It's awesome. You get a background on who the Saros is, the monarch. Well, it's not the monarch. It's like almost like their god, Saint Saros.
Man, can't we all just have a pet golden deer?
The progenitor god, and
Would that solve all of our problems?
yes,
I think so.
And also like you learn like where you came from, like you were almost kind of created, manifested like Mewtwo, and but anyway, it's a fantastic game. Still, I say that it's the greatest video game of all time, Fire Emblem Three Houses, and I played a lot of video games in my life. Other than that, I've watched the second episode of season 2 of The Mandalorian, titled The Passenger. Go see it. It's kind of scary, so heads up, especially towards the end. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's
flying monkeys?
Kind of the stuff of nightmares.
Baby Yoda's not going to help us now.
Are there are you talking about flying monkeys?
No, it's a lot scarier than that. Go watch it, and we'll talk about it later. I've also been continuing watching Dragon Ball Super on the Funimation app on my Apple TV. Currently in the Tournament of Power. It's crazy. Goku, spoilers, turn this off and then come back to us, please. But if you don't want to hear about this about Dragon Ball Super, is that Goku just went Ultra Instinct, which is like Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Ultra Instinct. Basically, his hair is just silver and he's sparkly. And even the gods are jealous at this super state of him. And what happened is that he absorbed a spirit bomb. He slurped up a spirit bomb, and it's crazy. Anyway, go watch it.
I need like
awesome.
a Dragon Ball wiki anytime I talk to you, DJ, with the way the language you're
I
speaking.
am a Dragon Ball.
I have
wiki.
no idea what you just said. I have no idea.
Welcome to my weekly life, Matthew.
I guess
Welcome.
that ties into Tenet, now does it?
Exactly. I also been continuing reading Dune by Frank Herbert, and I've also been reading my new Eberron book. Eberron is a campaign setting of Dungeons and Dragons. This is 5th edition Eberron, and Eberron's so cool, guys. Eberron is like this like fantasy world that's like it has like magic tech, like technology that's powered by magic, like trains and airships and like robots. These like magic powered robots are like called Warforged, and they have like their own consciousness and their own like free will. It's so cool. And also like dinosaurs are in it, and like the whole tone of this world is like neo-noir, and it also has like werebeasts in it called shifters. Basically it's like kind of like werewolves, but also like apes, cats, like people that can turn into another animal, but not like fully transformed, just kind of like Teen Wolf, basically.
Okay. So can I have like a
hairy.
Robo Dino Spy? Can I have that?
Yeah, dude, like it's awesome. And also all these like different like underworld criminal syndicates are around. It's so cool. I've been just like diving deep into it. It's awesome. Eberron, check it out. 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. I'm a big Dungeons and Dragons head, if you didn't know.
Can I start a campaign and be a Robo Dino private detective?
I don't see why you couldn't. It is that expansive. There's 4 main continents on it, but the main continent that like most of the action takes place is called Corvair. But yeah, and the whole world was started by a battle between 3 different dragons. And yeah. Anyway, now that I'm done with my side slurps, Matt, we're gonna before we get into our review of Tenet, we're gonna test something out on you, buddy, and we didn't tell you about it.
This is brand new for the Screen Slurps podcast, actually.
Right now, we're tentatively calling it the Pop Slurp Quiz. That's right,
Pop Slurp Quiz.
Pop Slurp Quiz. You're going to get quizzed by us, Mr. Weinstein, Mr. Matthew Weinstein. We're going to be asking you Pop Slurp Quiz questions about your favorite director, Mr. Christopher Nolan, or at least one of your favorite directors. And I'll start us off. Are you ready, Mr. Matt?
Let's have it.
All right, here we go. And then also keep in mind, if the listeners want to play along, I'm going to time this too. So every time I ask a question, Matt, I'm going to give you a certain amount of time. I'm going to give you 10 seconds to answer. And if you don't answer, I'm gonna go, and then you're going to listen to what the answer is. If not, try to beat the timer and answer correctly. So, listeners and Mr. Matt, here we go. Question 1. What Christopher Nolan film was made for £6,000 and was shot mostly on weekends for about a year because the cast and crew had full-time jobs?
What is Following?
Oh, well, you answered that within 1 second. Very well done. Yep, Following,
Wow.
which is came out in 1998, Christopher Nolan film.
In the Criterion Collection.
Yes, it is. Okay, Adam, if you want to ask the next question, I'll start the timer when you're done prompting the question.
All right. Question number 2. What actor has Christopher Nolan featured in his last 6 films?
3, 2, 1, go.
Who is Michael Caine?
You are correct, sir. Michael Caine has been featured in Christopher Nolan's last 6 films.
Yeah, the voice cameo in Dunkirk. It's easy to miss.
You got that within 3 seconds, Matt. All right, excellent. Okay, question number 3. Who does Christopher Nolan consider his... Well, sorry, I mispronounced this. Who does Christopher Nolan consider his primary influences? Hint, it's 2 people. Timer starting now.
I would guess one of those would be Stanley Kubrick.
And?
Should know this.
And it is Ridley Scott. You got half of that correct, sir.
Duh.
Stanley
I don't know
Kubrick
why.
and Ridley Scott.
I guess I forgot. Yeah, Blade Runner is a big influence. I don't know why. I was thinking of that, but I... Whoops.
That's okay. You're doing great. You've gotten 3.5. Well, 2.5, I guess. Yeah, sorry. You're doing well. You're doing great. All right, Adam, go ahead and ask your question, sir.
What film is claimed to be Christopher Nolan's favorite film?
I
10
believe it's
seconds.
2001: A Space Odyssey.
I'll give you a hint. It's not, but you just said the name about 2 seconds ago.
Blade Runner.
Ding, ding, ding. You
got
are
it.
correct.
Very well done, sir. Excellent. Thanks for playing, Mr. Matt, and everyone who's listening. Hopefully you know just as much about Christopher Nolan as Matt does. And if you don't, go watch more of his movies and read more about him. He's a great filmmaker. All right. Now that the Pop Sort quiz section is completed, we'll finally move on to a review of Tenet after an hour.
Hey,
of
don't say it
talking.
like a pessimist.
I'm not saying it like pessimist. I'm just making fun of us, which is fun. You know, not take us so seriously.
I have to give an idea. I have to suggest an idea. When you mix this, when we get into the Tenet section, make sure you have the music and sound effects overwhelm our audio.
We will if you hire lawyers for us in case someone sues us.
Well, the only reason I say that is it feels in line with the experience of watching Tenet.
You are
It does.
so right, and I'm glad you bring that up, and we will definitely talk more about that. Like,
Oh, we will.
Right now, like right now as we're talking about this movie, because
Right
you know
now.
what, DJ, I want you to tell us all. Well, I got the synopsis here too. You want to fight for it? You want to fight for the synopsis, or you want me to just tell us what we're talking about here?
Break
We can eat.
break a pool stick in half, Joker style in Dark Knight.
How about I'll read my first paragraph and then you continue.
Okay.
Unless you want to start.
That's fair.
I'm okay with you starting if you want.
All right. You know
All right,
what?
let's do rock paper. Let's do rock paper scissors. Okay.
Pool
Ready?
stick,
Here we go.
pool stick.
Here we
All
go.
right.
Here we go. We're gonna rock paper scissors. Okay. So the way I do it is like rock paper scissors shoot, and shoot is like when we like throw our.
I've
our
played rock paper scissors
out.
before, DJ. I am 5 years old.
Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Rock paper scissors shoot. Ah, damn it! You got scissors. I got paper. All right.
All
you
right,
go.
listeners, we're going to talk about Tenet. If you don't know, it's directed by Christopher Nolan. And break. Tenet is a 2020 action thriller and science fiction film written and directed by Christopher Nolan, who produced it with Emma Thomas, a co-production between the United Kingdom and the United States. It stars John David Washington, Robert Pattinson, Elizabeth Debicki, I can't pronounce things.
Capadilla.
Dimple Kapadia, Michael Caine, and Kenneth
Branagh.
Kenneth Branagh.
Kenneth Branagh.
Thank you. And Kenneth Branagh. The plot follows a secret agent, Washington, as he manipulates the flow of time to prevent World War III. Now, this film had me, I was about to say tripping balls, but I wasn't tripping balls. I was just like going through a loop. Classic Christopher Nolan film. I didn't know at all what I was really getting into until I was sitting in the theater watching this movie. Let me say that again. I had no idea what this movie was about until I was watching this movie,
And I
which was
still
great.
didn't really know what I was watching.
I
as
still
was watching
really
this
don't
movie.
understand what the hell I watched. And I think a lot of viewers felt the same way looking at the reviews of this film, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's got very
I
positive
still
reviews
liked it, yeah.
online. And yeah, it's got great ratings. It's doing pretty well for the box office. It could obviously be doing better, because of the pandemic. It's really kind of holding it back a little bit. But yeah, what the hell was I watching in this movie? My big drawback, I gotta say, and I already spoke to DJ about this. I guess I was cheating before this podcast a little bit. We went and saw the movie together, guys. We're lovers, okay?
With mask and we're brothers, not lovers. With mask, and we were separated. We had
DJ.
space between us, and we
You
ate our
jerk.
own candy and drank our own green teas separately.
How can you say that? But no, really, we spoke about this movie, and the thing is, the opening scene in this movie is what really tripped me up in the beginning. Is we have this whole scene where the protagonist, he doesn't have a name. Let me also remind everyone that he has no name. He's just the protagonist. The protagonist is, led into this opera house where people are getting shot up, and we're introduced to the idea that bullets can go backwards and time is irrelevant and it's all a paradox. And I'm watching this thinking, what in the hell is happening? And finally he gets caught by this whole situation, and he's sitting in a chair tied up, and it's like, okay, so he got caught, his little interaction didn't work, and he's getting his teeth pulled out. Okay, and so he takes a cyanide pill to kill himself, and he wakes up, and it's like, wait, so is he dead or is he not? And it's like, well, you took the suicide pill and you're dead. And it's
You gotta
like,
spin
wait,
the
so
top and see if it falls down or not.
yeah, and it's like, so is he dead? Is he not? Now, Matthew, I would like you to tell me, was this a test? I think I did a little bit of research, and this
It
all
was a
just
test.
Okay,
That suicide pill was a fake.
was it
was
just?
not a
Was it all just
His
like a
test
lab
is
test? This
loyalty.
whole thing was it like
No, he was found and put in a medically induced coma, and there was repair on his mouth, and basically his entire team was killed, and same with the target.
So he would have died.
Yeah, he would have.
Okay. I mean, it's just the idea, the fact that he took a cyanide pill. He would have killed himself, and
It
then
was
he
not a
woke
real
up.
cyanide pill.
Okay, all right.
I think it was. I believe it was either a dupe or something, like a phony. But regardless, he wakes up on a boat, and he's basically, he says he's going to resign, but he's like, no, you're inducted into this organization, and you have to stop this Cold War.
Yeah. And the people that were torturing him, are they just like, is it assumed that it's just like they were just eliminated by the people that the organization?
No, I believe they were working for the person who turns out to be the antagonist, Satar, who's played by Kenneth Branagh. So he is inducted into this organization, and he's given a gesture and a word, Tenet.
Which
And he's
that's
told-
also the title, the name of the organization, right? Tenet.
Basically. And he's told it'll open the right doors and some of the wrong ones too. So he is sent to, what's the first location he's in?
Well, I think he goes to India.
That's right, because he shows up and he's briefed on the idea of inversion, that several things are inverted, and he's tasked with finding the objects of a upcoming nuclear war.
Yep, inverted entropy, which allows him to
Essentially.
move backwards through time.
Well, the
And he's
objects move
basically told
backwards
by
in time.
that scientist that was introducing him to inverted entropy,
Mm-hmm.
which I love, which is kind of like a through line between like most Christopher Nolan films. Even though I love Christopher Nolan films, it's still fun to laugh at when she says, "Don't try to understand it."
Oh,
Like,
it's so funny.
what?
And I feel it
Of
happens
course,
in multiple
don't try to
movies.
understand
Yeah,
it.
Well-
don't even think about it, okay?
Yeah, just don't think about it.
Yeah.
But I want to think about it. This is a
Well-
cool concept.
Now, here's the thing. Well, are we going to go forward with the plot? Because essentially, he is he finds himself on the trail of this Russian oligarch, or whatever, how are you pronounce? He's a Russian businessman, a high-ranking national.
Russian
Oligarch.
oligarch. Andrei Sator.
And the way to get to him is through his estranged wife, Kat, played by Elizabeth Debicki. And he essentially teams up with Robert Pattinson's Neil. He's a local in India, and he tasks him. They go get up to some adventures, infiltrating the high rise to talk to an arms dealer who puts them on the trail of Satar. And in meeting the cat character, the protagonist finds that she's under the thumb of Satar because they have a child together, and he's using the child against her to keep her in the relationship, as well as blackmailing her with a forged painting because she's an art dealer. And this leads to John David Washington and Robert Pattinson to try to break into this free port in the Oslo airport to try to take the painting and destroy it so that she will grant him an audience with Satar. Are we confused yet?
I'm doing my best to follow you, and
actually that wasn't confusing. It's what is to continue. Like, where I got confused is further along, and this is also where I got most excited and most confused, is when more of the introverted entropy starts is more introduced. Like, yes, we see like the bullets, and we see how he catches bullets instead of shoots them, and it's because things haven't happened yet. It's more when it was Andre Sator had Kat in this room with like this looking glass, I guess, and you had the protagonist and Neil on the other side, and they were watching as Kat's being held captive, and she gets like a bullet that's like catched through her.
She gets shot by an inverted bullet.
Yeah, exactly. And then once that starts happening and they go through the other side, that is when I really started to get confused. I'm like, okay, what's happening? Like, how does this work? Like, how, like, whenever like stuff like this happens, like a science fiction a system works, I do need to know. I need to know a little bit with the rules. Like, for instance, when we're talking about like Dragon Ball Z, whenever like they go back in time and they were talking about the grandfather paradox in this, when Neil was talking about this, like the grandfather paradox is basically if you go back in time and you kill your grandfather before he even had like your father, and then that means that your father wouldn't have been born, which means he would have never had you. So therefore, who would have went back in time to kill your grandfather? The thing is that like what Dragon Ball Z did was really well is that when you go back in time and you kill your grandfather before you had your dad, it doesn't change anything for you. Your past is still your past. What it does is that it splits the universe in two. It splits it into parallel realities, and that reality goes on as if and prevents your birth happening in the future, but you still exist. So I was curious when he was bringing that up. It's like, wait, what's happening then if what they're doing in the past there's not really any repercussions in the future? But then that also made me think of that in real life there is a theory that there is a parallel universe that exists in which time runs backwards with us, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like maybe Nolan's tapping into that. Maybe we're getting this, like it's not just all these different realities. There's one that goes forward and then one that goes backwards, and we're kind of merging with that right now. So what did you think about that, Matt? Was that, or was it just unclear to you, the rules of this science fiction time bending?
Here's the thing about Tenet. There's a lot of interesting concepts. I don't think it's a movie you're going to get on the first viewing. There's just no way, because there's so much information and there's so much happening. And even having seen it a second time, I'm still like puzzling over how things happened, especially in the final battle. Like I don't understand exactly like how this
the red team and the blue team. Yeah.
It's so like what? And I felt that the first time I saw this movie, now we're going to get into what I think is one of the biggest faults of this movie is the sound mix. Although the second viewing was somewhat amended. So I saw this for the first time in 70 millimeter at the Music Box. I mean, it's a great theater. It's great to see 70 millimeter there. Sometimes the acoustics aren't great. But here's the problem. The movie is mixed in such a way where the music and the sound effects, they overwhelm all the dialogue. And as you mentioned before, she says, don't try to understand it, feel it. Here's the problem. There's a lot of sections where there's a lot of expository dialogue that's explaining like the turnstiles, the idea of inversion, and very specific things with the plot. And I got to tell you, don't know if this happened to you, but for me, the first time I saw this, half of that I did not get. I did not hear it.
No, it did happen for me, and it's especially the first scene of the film. The very first scene of the film, I understood practically nothing because the action sounds and the music are so loud, overwhelming over the dialogue. And the scene where they're talking on the boat and the music is so loud when it's the protagonist and the Russian, the antagonist, and Elizabeth Debicki.
Yeah.
And they have their dialogue has effects on it because of the helmets they're wearing and everything.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand anything they were saying with the effects and just how loud the sound effects were and everything.
Now, which theater did you go see it at?
We went to the Landmark
Century
Cinema.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I haven't been there in ages, but so that you had issues with understanding. The sound was just. I mean, I think the sound quality is good at that theater, but I think
it wasn't
the mix.
as bad as what I anticipate. What you're describing, which I do know what you're talking about because I have experienced the same thing with the music box. It wouldn't have. I think it would have been worse if we went to the music box, even though I love the music box. I think it was better, but it was still hard to understand.
But having said that, when I saw it again in IMAX a couple weeks later. And I was able to hear a lot more of the dialogue. I think this is a result of Nolan. I believe he mixes the movie in such a way. He's mixing it for the best theater. And
that makes sense.
Theaters they don't always have the most optimal, setup as far as, audio playback. And obviously, sound is an interesting thing for him because I think what he does can be interesting. I think that this time, the dialogue needed to be much more clear to understand.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it's okay if you don't hear every word, but there's a lot of sections where you're not hearing chunks of it, and it's very crucial to the entire movie.
And this film is like attending science class. This film, literally everything they're saying is about time travel, time bending, let's go back in time and fix this, and when you're walking forward in time. And, if we go back to that day when, I was with my husband and we were fighting, and we can fix it if we go 10 minutes forward and 5 minutes back. And, that paradox that I learned at this time. And it's like I'm watching the movie, and then after an entire scene, it's like, I did not hear anything you just said when you explained that entire algorithm right there. What the fuck did you just say?
And I think, part of the problem with this movie, and comparison to other Nolan movies, is there's a lot of spectacle, a lot of ideas, but what's missing is real emotional clarity and emotional stakes. The closest you get to an emotional center is the Elizabeth Debicki character. But even there, the fact that they have to have a kid and the kid is barely given a close-up, barely given any dialogue, you could have taken that character.
He's not even young anymore. When they show the kid, he's old.
You could have cut the kid out of the movie and it wouldn't have made a difference. I felt that was just kind of unnecessary. And that was the closest, and maybe the stuff at the end with Pattinson and John David Washington.
I did like that bromance.
That was good. I like that.
Yeah, it was a good bromance between the protagonist and Neil.
And it registers more on it resonates more on the second viewing, but compared to a movie like Inception, Interstellar, which people argue went a little over the top with the sentimentality, but I mean, even Dark Knight, a lot of his movies have a real clear emotional center. And this one is just, I felt that the spectacle and the ideas really took center stage. And this was Mark Kermode, when he reviewed the movie, he said a lot of the questions he had in thinking about the movie were really technical, not philosophical or emotional. And he sort of looked at that as a fault, and I agree. It's I'm thinking about the movie. It's so how did this work? And I feel like this time, unlike his other movies, it wasn't really a story. It was more plot-driven. And when it's more plot-driven, as something Red Letter Media pointed out, plot holes become a bigger deal when it's much more plot-centric.
Yeah, especially when the plot is is it going forward or backward? And, it's just both at the same time. Yeah, so, I get you. I felt that too.
So I literally halfway through the first viewing at the Music Box turned to Tyler, who I saw it with, and I'm like, I have absolutely no idea what's going on.
I said the same thing to Adam.
What's going on here? And I was by the end, I'm like, okay, I got a general gist, but I don't know I still don't know how it works. I'm sure repeat viewings are going to help. And here's the thing, in spite of everything I'm saying, what we're talking about right now, this is still a good film. It is worth seeing. It's one of those movies where, where, say, Dark Knight, Dunkirk, Inception, and Memento and Prestige get 4 stars or 5 stars. This gets 3 stars. It's not in the top tier, but it's good. It's, it's definitely, there's a lot of really good things in this movie. The things that are really good are really good. Obviously, the fact, the filmmaking, the production value, the cinematography is really good. And Nolan has learned from film to film how to film action better every time.
I get a question though, Matt. Maybe you know the answers to this. I got 2 questions. One is because I'm not. I'm like, I don't know what happened. In the beginning, when they were the protagonist is former organization, I guess, that he was with, attacked the opera house for some reason, I don't know. And who the masked figure that was there that helped them, that they were like, hey, he's not one of us.
I'll take
was
the help.
that him from the future?
I think it's probably Pattinson, because
So it was
you
Neil.
you see at the end of the movie, he's got that little like trinket on his backpack.
Yeah, the tiny twisty thingy.
He was John David Washington's a CIA operative, I believe, and I believe he was like undercover or something, and he was just infiltrating, trying to get the target out of there alive. That was the whole point of it. It was like, I think the original like siege was a operation fronted by Satar to steal a part of the algorithm, and I think the other part of it was to just kill everybody and just cover their tracks.
Well, here's my second question. When they were like, okay, we need to make sure, Sator is going to kill himself because he has pancreatic cancer and he doesn't want anybody else to be with his estranged wife, Kat. And if he kills himself, then we're all dead because he has the algorithm. Like, okay, like, but he ended up getting killed and nothing happened. And nobody was like, we're going to die. And we're like, oh, God, thank God, we're not dead.
She
like, there was
him.
no, like, build up to it. I mean, there was build up, but then, like, the moment it happened, it wasn't like, oh, are we still here? Are we still here? There was none of that. Like, why didn't the world explode?
Bit. I think they were just this close. Like, I think because Neil discovered, I gotta go through the turnstile and uninvert myself. So I think by that time he managed to get the whatever it was he used to hold that algorithm and them out of the hole. I think it might have been like some other like explosive device. Again, I could be totally wrong because there's so much going on and there's so many things that are still, even as I said, after a second viewing, I don't know how all this works.
Also, it was really cool seeing, the scene that we saw before. Basically, we saw like the bullets in the glass, and then we see the protagonist fighting the protagonist, basically, and one of them's like in the future that we're following.
Yeah, that was a great scene.
Oh, that was cool. But also, I was with how cool it was. It was awesome. With how cool it was like, why don't you just say, "Dude, I'm you." Dude, it's me. Like,
but if you did that, then
they'd look at each other.
But the thing is that, like, does the grandfather paradox even exist in this world? You know what I mean? Does that rule even exist? Because
I think what would have happened if you would have said it's me is if you have any contact or any interaction, it has very dire repercussions.
But they did have a lot. They like punch each other in the face a bunch.
But they didn't actually like touch. Like, he had armor, he had like protective gear on.
So it's like that Doc Brown rule in Back to Future 2 is like, again, the entire galaxy will explode. Yeah. So they fall into a paradox. So okay, all right.
Yeah. But again,
they saw themselves like John David Washington did see during that highway chase. He did see himself passing the suitcase with the
he didn't see it. He didn't actually know it was him until he actually went and did it.
That's true. Okay. I'm just trying to think, like, even when they're inverted though, there's only a couple times that like they talk backwards. Yeah, I mean, because like even if they're inverted, wouldn't their speech be backwards? Which a couple of times they were, but not.
That's a good point.
All the time though, it wasn't consistent. Like there was times where they were talking, and it's like, oh, I forgot he's inverted. Like,
But
it would have
actually,
helped me know who was inverted, who was not.
here's how I see it. When he hears Kenneth Branagh inverted, that's because he's not inverted, so he's going to hear it differently. And they're through their perspective, they're just talking normally. That's one way.
Backwards.
But again,
use subtitles. I think they should have just been both like backwards talk, and then we should have just had like subtitles for this backwards English.
I think they should have. I think they should have had subtitles for the whole movie because that's what's going to happen when it comes out on Blu-ray. People are going to be having the subtitles on.
Yes, I agree the entire time.
But I mean, again, this conversation we're having right now, this speaks to the whole overall like vibe we got from the film, which is a lot of ideas, a lot of spectacle, but it's very technical. You're just trying to figure out how does this work, and it's engaging maybe in that idea, in that sense, but as like an emotional like story, it falls short, especially falls short of Nolan's previous movies.
Yeah. But I mean, I thought upon viewing this, I got to say, the times that mentally I may have been taken aback and a little bit worried that I wasn't understanding something, or a little bit frustrated that I wasn't sure what was going on. I got to say, and I think you brought this up a little bit earlier, Matt, but visually, I think this film was definitely on point, especially with the action sequences and just in general with the cinematography, with the lighting, with everything, the technical effects, especially when I'll bring up the car chase sort of sequence when they were trying to board that giant truck. All of the practical sort of effects in this movie, Christopher Nolan has a way of not making it look like it's fake. I mean, nothing in this movie ever looks fake.
There's no green screen apparently when they made this movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
All in camera. There's probably maybe some enhancements in wire removal, but according like there's a making of or Pattinson's like there was no green screen on set at all. And no, that's another thing about Nolan. I mean, again, the action's really good in the sense that everything is real. It doesn't feel fake, and even like the locations. A lot of locations. Estonia, I believe they hadn't filmed there in like years. Like I think the last one was a Tarkovsky film, Stalker, if I'm not mistaken.
I just remember thinking, like, man, how much would it have cost? I mean, there's a budget on this film, but how much?
$200 million.
Yeah, how much does it really cost?
It made $350.8 million in the box office.
But how much does it really cost to blow up a fucking plane and run over all those cars?
Well,
and things
here's
like
what's
that?
funny. That whole plane scene was a real 747, and the funny thing about it is Nolan was like, well, just do it with models and some CG enhancements, and the producer's like, I can get you a real plane. It's going to be cheaper.
Blow up a plane. It'll be much cheaper. Let's go the indie route.
Yep.
So they actually did it, and it feels like
it definitely felt real. But also, I'm like, why did they blow up the plane? Like, I'm like, I don't even know why they did that. Like,
well,
why?
They did it to breach the
we don't know.
Yeah, they did that so that they can get in.
It was just cool.
It's fun, you know.
It was
blow up a 747.
It was in part to breach the Freeport and also draw security away. I'm sure there's another reason I forget about.
Gotcha. And it was cool.
Well, yeah, of course it's cool.
Of course it's cool.
Aren't you blowing up a 747, DJ?
Yeah, it's cool. No.
But let's just say, at least, you know, Christopher Nolan has some restraint. It's a plane that's on the ground. If it was Michael Bay, it would be dropping from the ground.
Yeah, and
it would be in the
Turtles and Transformers. Yeah,
the camera would be like locked on the plane. It would be the point of view shot, and
yeah, and Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox way too close to the explosions.
Not wearing masks,
running away for their lives. A little more information for the listeners in case you didn't know about the pre-production of this. Christopher Nolan, he conceived the ideas behind Tenet over the course of 20 years, but began working on the script in 2014. The title is a palindrome, reading the same backwards as forwards. If you didn't know already, Tenet. Nolan made a conscious effort to abstain from any influence of the spy genre other than his own memory. Once Upon a Time in the West inspired the screenwriting, and theoretical physicist Kip Thorne, who worked with Nolan on Interstellar, was consulted on the subjects of time and quantum physics. Pre-production lasted from 2018 to until early 2019, leaving department heads 5 months to prepare. Special effects supervisor Scott R. Fisher watched World War II movies and documentaries to find reference points for realism. And production designer Nathan Crowley requested Hamilton Watch Company to manufacture around 30 military wristwatches, each analog and digital countdown. I did like those watches. Nolan and Crowley traveled to scout for locations in February and April 2019. And disappointed with the Royal Swedish Operg as a potential spot for the Kyiv Opera House, Crowley switched it to the Linen Hall, which fit his affinity for brutalist architecture. So yeah, he had this in mind for a very long time, which also kind of reminded me of like Inception, because I think that he also had in mind for a very long time. And it's funny how it says that from my research says that he tried to abstain from spy genres, even though they're both kind of like heisty spy genre films. Which it's not a knock on it. It was super awesome and it was a lot of fun. But like I will say, like I guess like, you know, because I'm bringing up Inception right now, and this goes part of what you were saying, Matt, earlier, is that in terms of this, it just a lot of things need to make, like, it's cool to have a fictional world. It's cool to have a science fiction world. It's cool to have like a world that like operates under different reality rules than us. But I need to know the basic rules of this reality. You know, like I can't just say, you can't just show me some cool shit and be like, it's just cool. Don't try to understand it. Like,
Don't think about it.
And with you were saying, there's not really a whole lot of like emotional connection besides the protagonist and Neil, which we don't really get sealed until the end, and also like a little bit the protagonist and Kat. Other than that, you're right, Matt. There's not a whole lot of emotional core here, and without the rules, it's like I don't know what's going on. It's all awesome, but I don't know what's happening.
That connection between the protagonist and Neil, that resonates more on repeat viewings, because you realize like the first time they're meeting, they've actually, like, Neil has met him a long time ago. He just can't reveal that we've met before.
You know, I think that would have been more powerful, and I'm going to give this movie a watch again. I think that would have been more powerful, though, because I told Adam is that I was expecting the end to end with, like, the protagonist meeting Neil for the very first time in the past. You know, I was expecting that. It's like,
well,
okay,
actually,
now we get to see the beginning of this friendship.
Well, my friend and I, we were thinking it was going to end back at the Opera House and tie in there, but...
Yeah, I also thought we were going to see more of that, too. I told Adam that, too.
But, no, they didn't do that.
Strange. I wonder why. I wanted that, you know, and I don't think that would have, like, spoiled anything or, you know, overdo anything, saturate anything. I don't know why Nolan chose not to show us that moment in the beginning, which they kept referring to.
They did, and there's a lot of stuff I think there's going to be a lot of things that are going to pay off on more viewings, but... Again, it's just very technical. It's not like, I don't think a lot of it enhances the emotional like clarity of the movie. It just kind of, it's more of like, this is how this works. And again, it speaks to the idea that this is much more plot centric. Thus, plot holes are going to become more of a problem in thinking about this movie.
Well, I thought it was kind of funny too, watching the reverse sort of fight scene that the protagonist has with himself in the second reverse fight scene when he's going back in time, when he runs into Robert Pattinson and he gets his mask pulled off. It's almost like Robert Pattinson already knows. It's kind of like he sees that it's the protagonist, and it's just kind of like, you know, like, keep going. Like,
yeah, that's why he stopped him the first time.
Yeah. Well, on critical response, like on Rotten Tomatoes, Tenet holds an approval rating of 71% based on 276 reviews, with an average rating of 6.9 out of 10. The website's critical consensus reads, a visually dazzling puzzle for film lovers to unlock. Tenet serves up all the cerebral spectacle audiences expect from a Christopher Nolan production. And Guy Lodge of Variety described Tenet as a grandly entertaining, time-slipping spectacle. The Guardian critic Peter Bradshaw felt it was both madly preposterous and amazing cinema. Kevin Maher of the Times awarded the film a full 5 stars, deeming it a delightfully convoluted masterpiece. Yeah, I kind of feel that. Robbie Cullen of the Telegraph likened it to Nolan's Inception and praised the deft, subtlety, and wit of Pattinson and Debicki's performances. I also thought John David Washington did awesome too.
Oh yeah.
In his review, in the review that Peter Travers get for the Rolling Stone, he praised the film for being pure, ravishing cinema. A review for Dispatch called Tenet the perfect movie to mark the return of theaters because it captures so much of what makes the medium of cinema great. Oof. And also of Richard Roper of the Chicago Sun-Times, he gave it a 3.5 out of 4 stars and noted that the movie reaches for cinematic greatness, and though it doesn't quite reach the lofty goal, it's the kind of film that reminds us of the magic of the movie-going experience, which it did. I will definitely agree with that. Like, it is because like when me and Adam saw it, even though we're doing social distancing and mask and stuff, I haven't seen a movie since like in a movie theater since like before March. Like, it's been a really long time. And I know, like, we're still doing, like, it COVID style safely, but I didn't feel that until then. So, I don't know if it was just because, like, we chose to see Tenet for the first time in a long time. I don't know. But I also, like, I also saw, like, On the Rocks, Adam was, like, also playing at the Landmark Century Cinema. And, like, I don't think I would have felt, even though I like On the Rocks, I don't think I would have felt that movie-going magic with On the Rocks as I did with Tenet.
Right.
Tenet is the kind of movie that you need to see in a theater. That's like, if that would have been released on streaming, it would have been like, okay, that's...
And they knew that. It was delayed 3 times due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and it was released in the United States on August 26, 2020. Yeah. And, it was supposed to come out way earlier.
It was, July 17th, but... I mean, I think that for movies to like delay right now, I think it's probably because theaters just aren't open, and it's a catch-20. It's a conundrum because theaters aren't going to open in part because of safety protocols, but also because there's nothing new coming out, and people won't come if there's nothing new, and movies don't want to open because they don't want to lose money. Right. And I think that movies like No Time to Die, Dune, Wonder Woman 84, those are movies. I don't want to see those on a streaming platform first and foremost. I want to see them in a movie theater, in part for, the large format, IMAX. Those, the Bond and Wonder Woman shot scenes in IMAX film, and Dune is formatted for IMAX. Mm-hmm. And I want to see that. I want to see that in the way it's intended to be seen. And I think that, it wouldn't. Would it really make as much money if it was just dumped on a platform? I mean, I don't think it would really. And
I completely agree with you. Agree with you.
I'd rather wait.
And I think maybe a younger generation than us would argue with me, and maybe we're turning into old fogies. We're not even that old.
Not
okay,
me, you are.
Let me.
You say you are,
but you know what? You want to start a fight?
Let's go. I'm young.
Boom. Okay. You know what? I'm just trying to make a point here, and the point being, if someone wants to try and argue with me, some 20 or 18-year-old, jack off wants to start a fight with me, go for it. But my point is, going to a theater does make a difference, and
it does.
I highly mean that. And Christopher Nolan will start a fight over that. He has before. And the thing is, I stand behind that like wholeheartedly. That clearly, DJ, you were just saying it. Matt, you were just saying it. Like, seeing this movie in a theater made a difference. And if I did see this movie at my house, if it was released on, Amazon Prime or Netflix, that'd be cool and all. But if I watched this in my living room, I would have thought it was boring. I would have thought that this movie would have been, the same as watching, a movie like Heat or a movie like, and that's not to say that Heat is a boring movie. That's to say that it's, it's on the same plane. It's no different. It's not something that I should have.
But Heat is a masterpiece.
Heat is
Yeah,
fantastic, but
Heat's
my
good.
point is
Heat's good.
that Tenet just came out this year, and I should see this movie as something that's like, wow, what a great release for a fresh movie from Christopher
Yeah.
Nolan. Whereas if it came out, on a streaming platform, I probably would have watched it and been like, how does this stand out? What makes this different than any other Nolan film?
Well, that's the problem with the whole streaming releases. It's like there's so much content out there. How does one distinguish themselves? And I mean, unless you have a big name, I mean, look at Chicago 7, which was released by Netflix. That was originally going to be distributed by Paramount in theaters, and it was like, we got to get this out this year, and theaters aren't going to be open. The right audience isn't going to go. So it's one thing for a movie like that because that's got the prestige, but
Right. And I'm sure I could watch that and I could think to myself, Aaron Sorkin, what a great, director or writer.
it's very
or both.
enjoyable.
And what a wonderful film. I haven't watched
Very
it yet.
important
DJ,
film
I
for
know
the
you
times.
have. I'm gonna watch that movie, and I'm probably gonna think after watching it, it's probably gonna be a fantastic film.
It's very enjoyable.
Yeah.
I think you'd be surprised. I think there's a lot more 18-year-old cinephiles like to have like a similar mindset as us that do value the movie going experience. I don't think going to movies is like an outdated thing or like like using a VHS tape or something or going to a Blockbuster. I think it's still a valued thing that people that are, whether they're 18 years old or 30 years old, or whatever, way older than us, like 50, 60, 70 years old, like I still think that it's a communal thing that is still shared and it's not obsolete in any way.
No, not at all. And I
That
think
really, that for the people that care about movies. So people don't really care. They're like, whatever, I'll just watch everything on my iPhone,
Yeah.
whatever.
Well,
I think there's still a group that it's 18-year-olds that really do care about seeing
There are
such
people-
films like this on the
There are
theater.
people that only like the theater going experience because of the concessions.
And I love the concessions too. I think,
But I don't care. But I mean, it's fine. But I like, myself, and I think you both probably would feel the same way. We like it because it gives you an experience you can't get at home. Like if you go to see a movie on IMAX or a big screen, you're going to get that Dolby Atmos. You're going to get that, high quality, resolution.
And
high
you're
quality.
so sucked into the film, like you're not answering your phone.
Exactly.
Everything else is dark, but what's in front of you.
Exactly.
You're not looking from left to right.
You're looking up.
It's not junior high times where you put like. I remember I was a projectionist for my hometown theater, and I remember I was like 17, 18 years old. And I remember I had to like throw people out for having, like, I would see a boy and a girl together, and I would see like a coat over the boy's lap and then the girl really close in, and then I would have to be told, like, if you see that, tell them to leave. So I'm like, I would have to go up to him, I'm like, can you, and I would like kind of halfway look, like, because I didn't want to actually see what was going on. I'm like, can you do whatever and get out of here.
Was someone trying the popcorn trick?
Yes. No, they weren't that crafty. That would have been a better trick. But also stingy with that salt and butter. Anyway, I am so zoned into the movie, that's, and whatever age I am, whether, I'm 18 years old or I'm 30 years old or, like way into the future when, I reach my 40s, 50s, 60s, like there'll still be those moments where like, and I know you guys probably agree too, is that like, you were still, the movie's the only thing that matters in that moment.
Yeah,
and that
does.
what a great, we like escape. We're escapists. We like that escapism.
Exactly.
And it's beautiful.
Well, but not only just that, like I think that it shouldn't just apply to movies like Tenet or like all the big tentpole movies. I love the fact that I hope it doesn't become like only blockbusters and only tentpole movies go into theaters and everything else goes to video on demand. It goes to streaming. To me, it's like, I had a great experience seeing Uncut Gems or The Irishman in theaters.
Me too.
It's like, I love that experience because there was just something so visceral about it on a big screen and seeing it. And, when I saw Uncut Gems in theaters, there was an older woman to my left. And as the movie was ending, she goes to her friend, "This is the worst movie I've ever seen." And I whisper to my friend Tyler, I tell him exactly what she said, and we both burst out laughing. Because we're both like, this is what we want to see when we go to the movies. This is what we hope to see, the quality at least.
Same.
And it goes to show, like,
man.
it doesn't always have to be big, like, explosive, bombastic, summer blockbuster entertainment. It can also be something intimate, like an Uncut Gems, or something like, The Irishman, even
It
though
just
that is
does
a
get you
big.
to care,
Yeah.
It has to
Oh
get you
yeah,
to connect and care.
I mean, or even something like I remember seeing Room twice in theaters. I mean that
The Room?
no Room,
Oh,
not.
yeah. I know. I just wanted to mention The Room.
Every time you mention, I mean, what it.
Oh, hi,
A,
Mark.
a bad prank would be at the Music Box if they were ever to do a midnight showing of The Room. Decide to play Room at midnight and see what people think
And
and how they
everyone brings
perceive.
plastic spoons to Room.
Yeah.
And they start laughing at the
football.
movie. They start laughing. They're like, "Wait, we're not supposed to be laughing."
But then they
at
replace
this.
the audio of Room with The Room.
Oh, man.
Oh my
I'll
god!
go home with a migraine. It'd be such a mind fuck.
Like what?
Well,
Why is
guys,
this little-
I think it's about that time where we go into
think so.
our slurps up, slurps down section. So if you're new to the show, this is where we give our final verdicts. We'll each take our turns and we'll give our final thoughts, our final conclusions of what we think and feel about this movie, Tenet. And slurps down means that we don't recommend it, we didn't like it, and slurps up means that we do like it and we do recommend it. So, Mr. Atomizer, would you please start us off first?
Well, this film, in a quick comparison to other Christopher Nolan films that have been released, I think going into this film, wow, it's certainly not Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises, or any of the other Batmans. You're getting a science class with this one, and you are traveling in time all over the place. I had no idea what I was getting into going into this movie. I'm very glad that I didn't know what I was getting into going into this movie. I thought it was a wonderful experience to learn as I went along, because if I had tried to research what this movie was beforehand, I would have gotten a very serious headache trying to figure out what the hell was going to happen. But thankfully, they teach you very well throughout this movie what you are trying to follow to the best of their ability, whether you're moving forward in time, moving backward in time, whether looking at yourself is going to make you die. Who knows? Don't think about it, okay? Just don't. They tell you that too. Don't think about it. It's a great movie. I think it's great to see Christopher Nolan back in action, as always. And as I was saying earlier, the film visually is absolutely marvelous. Never a time where you think anything looks hokey or out of line. Everything visually just looks very, very well done. The lighting and cinematography look great. The effects look great. It's great. And I won't go all the way to say, this is the mind-bustling blockbuster that's going to blow your mind to the nth degree. However, I will say it is a very, very well-done film, and I highly recommend checking it out. I definitely going to give this one a slurps up.
Cool. I think I'm in the same stance as you, Adam. I will say that I definitely need to watch this at least one more time to really figure out the puzzle, as was mentioned before, the puzzle of this film. I will say that with all the things that I didn't understand, and I was like, I have no idea what was going on. Why is there a red-blue team and it's suddenly Call of Duty? I don't know.
It's actually Halo, okay?
No idea. Why is this Halo now? Like, okay, I'm like, but like, sure, whatever. I love it. I'm totally in, Christopher Nolan. Like, show me. I don't care. It was just like, at first I would feel frustrated because I'm like, what is happening? But also I was like, this is cool. Like, I didn't care. Like, I did, but also like I was so captivated by what was happening. And I definitely do agree with you, Matt, that this definitely lacked the emotional core that a lot of other Christopher Nolan films do have. And I'm not excusing it at all. I will say that kind of doesn't give me I'm not going to give it a full on, slurps up. Full throttle, full slurps up because of that, because I believe that's like one of the most important things about any film at all, any genre. But it is an extremely fun film. It is very entertaining. I'm intrigued enough where I'm not like, fuck this, I don't care, I don't get this. I'm intrigued enough where I want to figure out more. I want to know information. I want to like watch it again with subtitles. I want to watch, I want to watch it
I have the
where
script too. I got a PDF
I
of
would
the
love to read
script.
the screenplay too, and I would like to, get like the insight of the scientists that like Chris Nolan worked with
Or
in order to develop this movie, so I can understand the science. I need to understand the science within the science fiction to, in order for me to like really be pulled into this world. And I with that unexplained, I felt there was a few barriers that I was like that held me between me and the movie. So in order for me to jump over those, I need to do those things. And with that, I think once I do that, I'm gonna like this film even more. So I have hope for this film that I'm gonna like it even more in the future. But it is it's very fantastic. I definitely recommend it. For people who haven't seen it yet. And if you have, go see it again. You probably definitely know
You
what I
probably
mean.
have to.
Yes,
yeah.
John David Washington is awesome. He's an action hero. I loved his broship with bromance with Robert Pattinson, who's Neil, also a new Batman. And Elizabeth Debicki was great as Kat. And I definitely felt her pain. And boy, did I not like Kenneth Branagh's character when he was kicking her.
Oh, he's an
When
asshole.
he was being abusive to her, that was awful. I hated him. But Kenneth Branagh as a performer and as an artist is amazing. One of my
Oh,
teachers
he
in
is.
college actually went to the same school that he did in England. And like I guess like she was a first year and he was like about ready to graduate, so they kind of like rubbed elbows together. She was my Shakespeare teacher in college,
Oh.
and yeah, so I kind of have like 2 degrees separation from him. Anyway, not a big deal. Anyway, long story short, I give it a slurps up. Not a full on, Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, full throttle, slurps
Okay,
up, but
Goku.
I feel like it's potential to get there. I'm
I'm
not
more
going to give
confused
up on this
now.
film. I'm not going to give up. I feel like I can even like this film even more with more viewings. So slurps up, and probably a slurps up to freaking the Andromeda Galaxy in the future. Mr. Matt, what did you think of this?
Well, I will give it a slurps up, but with reservations, as I said before, where Inception, Dark Knight, Dunkirk, Memento, and The Prestige, they get 4 or 5 stars depending on the scale. This gets 3 stars. The acting is all good. It elevates the writing. The writing is it's slight in places. It lacks in certain characteristics and character development, but everyone's really good in it. And one other thing I want to mention, besides the awesome cinematography by Hoyte van Hoytema, the music by Ludwig Göransson.
That's great.
That it is great.
It was very good.
Replacing longtime composer Hans Zimmer, but Ludwig finds himself a very fitting replacement, and
Is that going to be a
there's
continuous thing, you think, or?
who knows, but I love what he came up with. There's a lot of the opening track is really good. I mean, it has the same bombast you come to expect from any Nolan score. It's always cranked up to 11. In fact, now when I saw it in IMAX, and as I was walking out during the end credits, that song, the Travis Scott song, was playing, and I could hear the rumble. Just it was massive, that rumble, and that song too. That song is definitely catchy, to say the least. And that's a unexpected direction for Nolan to go in, to have exclusive song by Travis Scott of all people to end the film. Didn't expect to hear that, but didn't know that was going to be the case. And then I heard the song. I'm like, I don't know how he came up with that or came to that, to use that. But good on him, and it's a good addition. So. Yeah, I think that, as we've been talking about, it doesn't have the emotional stakes or the emotional clarity that Inception had. It was much more plot driven and a lot more focus on spectacle and ideas, and a lot of which is I'm still trying to wrap my head around. And I even texted my brother after I finished watching it. He's like, "What'd you think?" And I sent him The Simpsons, where Homer's watching Twin Peaks, and he's like, "Brilliant! I have absolutely no idea what's happening." That's how I felt. I don't know what's going on, but some of it's kind of cool. So it's definitely, second viewing does help. I look forward to seeing it again. Just the visuals alone are worth viewing. And Nolan, he is definitely a terrific filmmaker. Even if this is not one of his best films, it's definitely worth watching. And again, slurps up with some reservations.
Nice.
Nice. Hell yeah.
Nice, man.
Go see Tenet, everybody, if you haven't already. And yeah, that's our review of Christopher Nolan's Tenet. All right, moving on. Now it's the time of the episode where we each get to solo plug something. That's right. It's the solo plugs section of the solo plug time of the Screen Slurs episode of Tenet. Cool, great. So solo plug for me, DJ Gearhart, is I stream on Twitch. I play video games and I do other fun things on my channel. So follow me at twitch.tv/-jayhart. That's twitch.tv/DASHJAYHART. And also, watching this film, it did remind me of a student film I did back in 2010. It's called Chronology. It has to do with time travel. I'm in it. I wrote it. I directed it, and I star in it, and I edited it too. It's it's like kind of almost like a vigilante, an organization of vigilantes that have a power to go back in time, and then they stop crimes from happening. And it's broken up into 2 parts. It's about around a half hour in total. But you can check it out on my Vimeo page. I haven't plugged this in so long, but it did remind me of Tenet. It's not a Christopher Nolan film, but keep in mind, I did this with no budget. I was in college and I did it with no budget.
Hey.
So go check it out if you're interested. I still think it's fun. And it's called Chronology. It's on my Vimeo page. My Vimeo page it's currently called vimeo.com/Skyhart. Vimeo.com/SKYHART, and just go to that page and scroll down to Chronology. There's a part 1 and a part 2. Adam, what would you like to solo plug, sir?
You can catch me on social media at Adam Meisner on Twitter, Instagram, SoundCloud, the whole shebang, and I upload music of your liking, original songs, cover songs. Just let me know what you want to hear, and I will put it online.
Cool. And Mr. Matt Weinstein, what would you like to solo plug? And if you'd like to repeat a plug, go right ahead, sir.
I will certainly do that. I am on social media, Facebook and Instagram. Instagram is MJW_120. You can also find the Instagram page for Misconnection on there. It's at a Misconnection, all lowercase. And feel free to check out A Misconnection. Again, it's available to stream on Amazon Prime and IndieFlix. I'm sure on Instagram I'll be uploading future cat videos and cat pics, so more incentive to check me out. But
doesn't want
besides
cat
that,
pics.
Plus plenty of film related stuff, and continuing to promote A Misconnection and helping build spread the word, and also not official like 100% yet, but working on getting The Gun Equation up on Amazon Prime as well.
Nice.
So once that's official, that'll be announced, but we're just in the process of working on that. And check me out on social media, and check out A Misconnection. And again, leave a rating and leave a review if you check it out.
Very nice. Okay, that wraps it up for this episode of Screen Slurps. Thanks for listening, everyone. Please be sure to like/follow us on social media, and know that we release new episodes every Monday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and just about everywhere you can find podcasts on the internet. And be sure to follow and subscribe to us on those platforms. And if you like our show, please give us a nice 5-star review on the Apple Podcast app, which is also iTunes. And it'll definitely help the show grow, and recommend us to everyone in your multiverse. It will help the show grow. So closing out, this is DJ Gearhart.
I'm Adam Meisner.
And our guest,
Matthew Weinstein. Not related to Harvey.
Not related to Harvey. We have the good Weinstein. The good one. Matt Weinstein's the good boy. All right.
I tried.
Slurps up. Beware of stuff that goes backwards, but keep moving forward, and we'll catch you later.